What's going on, everybody? It's Q here from Retro Q Game, and it is a very dark, dreary, drab, and rainy morning here in Ireland. But you know what? I'm here to bring a little bit of sunshine, a little bit of rays of hope, a little bit of rays of light, and a way to improve your day due to, well, what we're about to talk about here. So what are we talking about anyway? Well, we have a nice big juicy leak that happened overnight last night, and this all stems from something that happened last week when a hacker group slash ransomware group allegedly got access to up to 1 terabyte of Capcom's internal private data. Now this data included stuff like images, screenshots, presentations, release timelines, and everything up to and including employees' personal data. And this group decided to ransom back the data for multiple millions of dollars to Capcom, who then refused to pay it. So what this group did was release 60 gigabytes of the 1 terabyte of data that they managed to get access to. And boy oh boy, has it been a wild ride sifting through a little bit of that data. Now, there's multiple different things, multiple different IPs and games and stuff. We're only going to talk about one big one in depth, but I do want to outline 1 or 2 specific points just before we get to the meat and potatoes, the juicy bit of the actual information. So included in this is stuff like there's something that's codenamed Guillotine in the works that is going to be a Nintendo Switch exclusive IP. There are things like Ace Attorney collections and ports being brought over and translated for the first time, etc, etc. And interestingly enough, it turns out that Sony paid $5 million to Capcom in order to get timed exclusivity of the Resident Evil 7 demo and the PS4 VR Resident Evil mode. And in an even more laughable situation, Google paid $10 million to get Resident Evil 7 and Resident Evil 8 onto Stadia. A true testament how no one wants to put anything onto Stadia unless they're paid millions and millions of dollars. But anyway, back to the main juicy point we're going to talk about here. So, Monster Hunter Rise. This is the important one. This is the key point of this video. Now, Monster Hunter Rise was originally announced to release on Nintendo Switch in March of 2021, which is still when it's going to release. At least there's no confirmed or subsequent delays just yet. But due to all this extra leaks and information now that we know about it, there are apparently going to be plans for a demo in January and also in March of 2021. Now, if you're not sure what Monster Hunter Rise is, it's a new game in the Monster Hunter series made for Nintendo Switch, because let's face it, we all know the Switch is less powerful than the Xbox One, the PS4, the Xbox One X, the PS4 Pro, and not of course including the Xbox Series X, the Xbox Series S, and the PS5. So naturally, a game like Monster Hunter World, which is the biggest and best selling not only Capcom game of all time, but Monster Hunter game of all time. And we all know that one could not fit on the Switch in any way, shape or form to keep the original version of the game. So many Nintendo fans out there were very tickled by the idea of that they would be creating a Monster Hunter game specifically for Switch. However, in the leaked documents and all that came out last night, it turns out that Capcom also planned to release Monster Hunter Rise on PC in October of 2021. Now this has prompted massive backlash from the Nintendo community, as they are the worst fan base in gaming. And you have seen multiple people turn their back on various companies for it. You have many people out there like myself who are cancelling their pre-orders, not because they feel betrayed or anything like that. No, we would rather buy the game on the better, superior platform, with better visuals and, more importantly, better performance when it comes to PC. These are, of course, the logical people. But then you have the other ones, the people that were out there who were complaining now that first off, Capcom were doing something amazing by building a game for the Switch, a Monster Hunter game for the Switch from the ground up, and it was going to be the new biggest and best one ever and was going to trounce Monster Hunter World in every way, including sales. And now these people, who are obviously delusional, have completely turned on the game, and now it looks awful, now it looks like a cash in and a cash grab, it's not worth the time, it's casual, etc, etc. And you usually do see stuff like this from the Nintendo camp when, well, stuff like this happens. Project Octopath Traveler was a great example of when that happened. But this one is especially bad. I'm not sure why. Well, I guess I can kind of understand why. Because Nintendo fans, or at least Nintendo Monster Hunter fans, incorrectly believe that Nintendo and the 3DS saved Monster Hunter. That's not the case whatsoever. Sony and the PSP saved Monster Hunter. But I digress. I've been talking about this whole situation online in various ways, shapes, and forms and places for the last maybe 2 hours or so, and it has got the jimmies exceptionally rustled. There are very, very few times when I have seen it this bad. So you know how exceptionally bad it is when it comes to the Nintendo fanbase and that kind of stuff. In fact, like I said, over the last 2 hours, I have received multiple messages in various different places telling me to kill myself because I am cancelling my pre-order. Again, not out of protest, but because I will be buying it on PC. These people are absolute children. They are the dregs of gaming, the worst fanbase, and I look forward of 11 more months of butthurt over Monster Hunter Rise. We've already had literally years of butthurt over Monster Hunter World, and I can't wait till it continues on and transfers over to Monster Hunter Rise.